On this episode of MythBusters, Adam and Jamie are gunning for two duel dilemmas.
Right in the belly.
First, is it true that you should never bring a knife to a gunfight?
Dude, that is just so terrifying.
Then, in a samurai showdown, does the fighter who moves first actually lose?
No.
I've got a headache.
Meanwhile, Carrie, Tori, and Grant go ballistic
Raining death from above.
as they fire up an epic retro rocket.
Instead of bullets, it's shooting arrows.
Was the ancient Chinese fire dragon
This is 10 live rocket arrows inside Fire Dragon.
really the world's first two-stage mythical missile?
In 3, 2, 1, fire.
Who are the MythBusters? Adam Savage
I reject your reality and substitute my own.
and Jamie Heineman.
We're gonna have an adventure.
Between them, more than 30 years of special effects experience. Together with Tori Belleci,
Come along for the journey.
Grant Imahara,
Nothing's a test me!
and Carrie Byron.
Let's do it.
They don't just tell the myths, they put them to the test.
What's with all the weaponry?
Well, we've got some dueling myths on the roster today.
Dueling.
Dueling, you know, two guys facing off against each other. You were in a duel once, weren't you?
I don't want to talk about it.
Fair enough. The first one we've got to test is an Old West saying, don't bring a knife to a gunfight.
Meaning that one of those always beats one of these.
Yeah. The second one is a samurai saying that in a battle between two swordsmen, the first one to move will lose.
So it's a dueling double bill. And first up, the guys are gunning for a classic cliche.
So the cowboy's advice is to never bring a knife to a gunfight.
Exactly. And honestly, that seems patently obvious. I mean, if I'm holding this gun and you're holding that knife and we're like 20 feet apart, I am going to shoot you before you can get to me and stab me.
Yeah, but what if I was to throw the knife?
Like Magnificent Seven.
That's the one, and it might even the odds a little bit.
Boy, it might.
I tell you what, why don't you be the shooter and I'll go get some expert knife throwing advice.
And then we'll meet at the corral.
You're on.
See you there.
If I'm gonna go up against a gun with a throwing knife,
Draw!
I'm gonna need a little practice. And so with that in mind, we've brought in knife throwing expert John Labash, who's gonna tell me everything I need to know, including how to do the famous throw from Magnificent Seven. So John, let's have a look at the overhand throw. What's the trick?
Your basic grip is you take your pinky, put it on the radius of the handle, hold the handle like you would a hammer.
Okay, got it. And then what?
Your stance is sideways to the target. Bring the knife back over your head, go forward, and when you get to here, let the knife slide out of your hand.
John makes it sound so easy. And with 10 years of knife throwing experience, it is. But for a don't try this at home novice,
Thumb on the side, pinky on the radius.
there's no ka-ching to the spin. But Jamie tries, and tries again until,
Look at that.
despite hitting the bullseye,
Not bad.
it's not all good news. Because this overhand throw is too slow to beat a gunslinger. The Magnificent Seven here went under the knife. And this lower blow is a much tougher throw. So let's cut to our shooter.
It's knife versus gun, and I'm the one holding the gun against Jamie's throwing knife. Now, we couldn't find an Old West gun that shoots paintballs, so we went with a more modern version, this one here. But I'm still going to wear an Old West style holster for it. They don't make those, so I'm gonna make one.
Firing real bullets at Jamie is too dangerous, even for the MythBusters.
Soaking the leather makes it nice and pliable.
So a paintball pistol, complete with freshly fabricated holster,
Yeah.
will be their weapon of choice.
I'm pretty pleased with that. This is not a real gun. I wouldn't point a real gun at my cameraman. You got that?
And while Adam practices his quick draw,
Right in the belly.
Jamie's finally perfected his pitch.
There we go.
I made this throw. I actually hit the bullseye from 20 feet. So it's clear that with some practice, you can get pretty good at this. But having a successful knife throw is all about precisely knowing what kind of power you have to put in at a specific distance to hit the target. Now, that puts it in an entirely different league than using a pistol, where all you have to do is point the darn thing and pull the trigger.
Yep, there's no doubt about it. Firing a gun is easier. But does that mean you should never bring a knife to a gunfight? Next, it's out of the frying pan into the fire dragon.
All right, this is going to be fun because we have an ancient weapon myth that I think is awesome.
All right, what is it?
It's called the fire dragon. Now, this is from 14th century China and rumored to be the very first two-stage rocket.
All right, I know this one. It's supposedly a fairly long tube with a dragon head on the end. And according to legend, it had rockets on the outside that propelled it up into the air. Halfway through the flight, the second weapon stage activates, and rocket arrows come shooting out of the mouth.
All right, so then the kicker is nobody knows for sure if this thing worked?
Exactly. The evidence is really, really poor, so it's up to us to test it.
Roaring to life in 14th century China, the fire dragon was supposedly the world's first two-stage rocket missile. Stage 1 used 4 rockets to get airborne. Stage 2 would then fire off 10 rocket arrows directly towards its target. But is this ancient anecdote accurate, or is this myth going down?
All right, so since this rocket is a two-stage rocket, I say we test it in 2 stages.
Go on.
All right, first stage, we gotta see if this rocket design is aerodynamic enough to actually fly straight.
Look, I gotta say right off the bat, I highly doubt that this thing's gonna fly straight. If you look at the drawing, it doesn't look aerodynamic at all.
Okay, well then why don't we make a miniature version, take it to NASA and see if it is aerodynamic. And then we'll move on to see if we get rocket-powered arrows to fly out of its mouth mid-flight.
I love it.
I've been doing a little bit of research on the fire dragon weapon, and all the historical drawings look pretty consistent. There's 4 booster rockets on the outside and an open-mouthed dragon head that spits out the arrows inside. And then there's sort of a tail that makes the fins. So I'm going to make the fire dragon rocket in small scale, take it to the NASA wind tunnel, and see if it even has a chance of flying straight. And if it doesn't, then we'll make a couple modifications until it does.
Because historical pictures can be more propaganda than precision,
Not a dragon yet.
Carrie's starting by sculpting the ancient drawings in scale.
Retreat, they have a fire dragon!
She'll then use this model to see if the mythical missile could ever get off the ground in the first place.
One arrow-breathing fire dragon.
And in case not, she's also built a backup.
I made an arrow-breathing fire dragon based on the historical drawings, but because it's not the most aerodynamic shape, I also modified a head and made it a little more simple so that when we take this to NASA, if this isn't gonna fly straight, we have some alternatives.
With the 2 creations carved out, let the rocket science commence.
Ready to go back into the wind tunnel?
NASA and dragon seems like an odd mix, doesn't it?
Oh, you'll see. So we have here Carrie's traditional fire dragon, exactly as depicted in all the diagrams. We've got it set up here in the wind tunnel. Spin up the wind tunnel to 25 miles per hour, and if it starts to turn and does not self-correct back to straight, then we'll know we're not stable.
This is test 1, lateral stability of the arrow-breathing fire dragon. Go ahead, turn on the wind.
Under the watchful eye of senior scientist Steve Smith, the wind winds up, and then...
Okay, so if I poke at it, we'll see how it diverges. Whoa.
Well, that's really not stable.
Yep, a stable rocket won't budge when given a nudge. By flipping full circle, the ancient fire dragon design is an aerodynamic disaster. So it's on to Carrie's plan B.
New head.
New head.
Where thanks to some simple aerodynamic encouragement,
Internal motor.
Like it.
the mythical missile can still get fired up yet.
All right, round 2. This is more aerodynamic, hopefully. Air-breathing fire dragon with fins and modified head. Go ahead, start up the wind.
With the wind at speed, Steve knocks her up.
Yeah, that's really stable.
That's great.
And this time, the rocket immediately bounces back. A clear sign that this dragon is durable.
I think we have a design. So we've had great success in the wind tunnel. We have a stable design. Now, yeah, I know it doesn't look exactly like the drawings, but believe you me, if you saw this flying over the horizon, spitting arrows at you, you would call this an arrow-breathing dragon.
So they have a design in theory. But what about in practice?
So we're here at the New Jerusalem airport to see which design flies best. Now, obviously, the ancient one didn't do so well in the wind tunnel, but the new design did pretty awesome. So it's time to see how they fly in the real world with actual rocket power.
Yep, before the guys focus on the rocket's second stage warhead,
Okay, I'm ready, fire it!
they first want to confirm that the ancient dragon can't fly,
All right, this should be interesting.
while their modified miniature can.
All right, Fire Dragon is set. Let's see if he flies.
All right, here we go. 3, 2, 1.
Well, I think that would probably kill your own army.
Having a missile land back on the launch pad is not what you'd call ideal. So it's onwards and hopefully upwards with their doctored design.
All right, this is modified Fire Dragon. You ready?
I'm ready, do it.
Here we go in 3, 2, 1, firing.
Oh, yeah! That was beautiful.
Holy moly, that thing was gone.
The difference couldn't be more extreme. As one small-scale rocket does the twist, the other shoots for the moon, just as NASA predicted.
I think we've got a design for full scale.
And while it's true that the second stage warhead has yet to get a look in, it's definitely a case of so far, so good.
Now, when we left NASA, I was feeling pretty good about this rocket design. But you know what? We got 1,500 feet. You know what that means? That means we're ready to go full scale. Let our enemies beware. The MythBusters have a fire dragon.
Make it fast, Slippery. This is your last draw.
It's a classic cowboy conundrum. But should you really never bring a knife to a gunfight?
What a great space.
Nice space for a shootout.
Let's have a showdown.
Okay.
First up for this showdown comes some mutual target practice. Adam with his paintball pistol and Jamie with a water balloon?
So I wanted to throw my hunting knife at Adam, but for some reason nobody else thought this was a good idea. So I've come up with a safe knife analog, and it's these water balloons. They're filled up such that they've got the same mass as the knife, and if I throw them at the same speed, they're basically identical, except that they're non-lethal.
Feeling ready?
Ready as I'll ever be.
Let's do it.
But first comes the obligatory pastiche. Featuring a pair of Western wannabes known as the Less Than Magnificent 2. And after the tumbleweed cutaways, here's the method to their madness.
So here's our experimental setup for replicating the knife versus gun showdown from the Magnificent Seven. Jamie is the knife. I am the gun. We stand 16 feet apart, and our signal to move is when Mike fires the starter pistol.
Now, the minute I hear that bang, I've got to get to Adam with my knife substitute before he gets to me with his pistol. I'm ready.
Let's do it. Are you all right?
You got me in the crotch.
You got me right here.
I got you around
I shot
there.
you in the crotch. I'm sorry about that. And I think I got the shot off before you got the knife in. However, it still means I'm dead.
Yeah, and I'd be very unhappy.
This is a very interesting result. I got my shot off long before the knife got to me, but the knife still got to me. So the fact is that Jamie got his groin shot off, and I have a knife in my chest. In that one, I'd say knife wins. But we're gonna run this a few more times just to make sure.
So cue test 2.
That was it. You hit me, and I got you. Nice.
Good.
We've only had a couple of tries at this, and we're already getting some really interesting data. You can see on the high-speed camera that my knife is halfway to Adam before he's pulled the trigger of his gun, which means that unless he dodges, he's gonna die from the knife.
So for test 3, the plan is exactly that. Can Adam shoot straight, then dodge the knife?
You dodged my knife.
Did I get hit?
I missed you.
Well, in a word, no. While he did duck, doing so meant his aim was lame. And Jamie survives as well.
Let's do it again.
In test 4, Adam is accurate, but this time gets hit himself.
You nicked my shoulder.
But in test 5, it all comes together in slow motion. Mike fires the gun. Jamie launches the knife. Adam shoots Jamie square in the chest before he then ducks from death.
I hit him right in the chest.
And in a whole bunch of subsequent tests,
I shot your leg off.
it's the same old story.
You keep ducking.
Bringing a knife to a gunfight won't let you rule the duel.
I'm like spot on every time, but you keep moving.
After our extensive testing of the Magnificent Seven Knife versus Gun Showdown, here's how it shakes out. Gun wins, and for a couple of reasons. One, I was always able to squeeze a shot off before the knife got to me. Two, most of the time, I had enough time after squeezing off the round to actually dodge the knife. You can't dodge a bullet. I think we've proven that one before.
So is that it for knife versus gun? Does gun just win?
Not by a long shot. I'm not done with you yet.
Excellent. Let's go.
The ancient fire dragon had a wind tunnel wipeout,
That's really not stable.
but their modified missile was a streamlined sensation.
I think we have a design.
So what's next?
All right, so now it's time to focus on this mythical second stage of the fire dragon.
Yeah, supposedly mid-flight, 10 rocket arrows started shooting out of the dragon's mouth.
Yeah, well, there's 3 things we have to figure out. 1, design. How do we grip the arrows inside of the body to make sure they can still fire out accurately? 2, timing. How do we get all 10 arrows to fire on cue? And 3, size. How big is this thing gonna be?
All right, well, I have an idea for an arrow containment unit and a timed fuse system, but I'm not really sure about the size.
I think they have to be pretty big because we have to accommodate a 3-foot arrow plus fuses and the first stage of the rocket. So I think we're actually talking about a 6-foot fire dragon rockets. We're gonna have to go out to the desert to fire these off.
Sounds good to me.
With the history books no help for the mythical second stage, the guys have to tackle this part from scratch as they redesign and retime their ancient wartime weapon full scale. Or at least Tori does.
I'm gonna be working on the ignition system. Now, this isn't gonna be an easy task. What I need to do is get all 10 rocket-powered arrows to fire out right as the shuttle is coming down upon the approaching army.
Tori's first step for this second stage is to turn the arrows into rocket arrows.
All right.
Then he comes over all a-quiver.
What I'm working on right now is the quiver that's gonna hold the rocket-powered arrows. There's gonna be 10 of them, and they're gonna slip inside the fire dragon. We don't want all 10 arrows just bouncing around as it's going on its flight.
Although it looks more Gatling gun than arrow holder,
Instead of bullets, it's shooting arrows.
it's this clever quiver that should give the arrows a degree of accuracy, provided that they even ignite.
Now, for these fire dragons to be successful, the second stage has to work. So my plan right now is I'm taking 5 rockets, and I fill the nozzles with black powder, and then I'm taking this fuse, and I'm going to light it and see if that ignites the black powder in the nozzle to get the rockets that are attached to arrows to fire.
And once relocated to the bunker, it's time to do just that.
God, I hope this works. All right, you ready? This is second stage of Fire Dragon test. Here we go in 3, 2, 1.
It may not look like it, but this test could not have gone better. The fuse system was a blast, igniting all arrows on cue. And the quiver support let those arrows fly straight and true.
So the ignition system for the second stage of the Fire Dragon worked perfectly. And the best part is, the arrows embedded themselves in the plywood behind us. So that means we have some lethal rocket-powered arrows. I think all we have to do now is get the timing from the first stage to the second stage perfect, and it's time to go to the desert.
Tori's right. With the second stage firing on all cylinders, next, the guys need to up the ante.
I love it out here.
Here comes the Mongolian army. Let's hit them with the Fire Dragon.
We've come out to the Mojave Desert to test our Fire Dragon myth. Now, I've taken my small-scale Fire Dragon, which worked great in NASA and flew straight, and brought it to full scale.
Yep, it's now 6 feet of pure rocket power.
All right, launch site's complete.
But before any missile mayhem, there's some timer testing to be done.
Now, one challenge that we're faced with is figuring out when the second stage is gonna happen. So what we're gonna do is fire one of these without a second stage. See how long it goes? Once we know that, then we can cut our fuse so that our second stage happens halfway through the flight.
Correct timing of the second stage is crucial. Too short a fuse, and the arrows will go nowhere fast. Too long a fuse, and they'll be just as inept. The butter zone is the middle. When the missile has reached its apex, the second stage can deliver its payload at full potential. But how long to reach apex?
All right, so this is Fire Dragon test fire to see how long it flies for. Here we go in 3, 2, 1, fire. Fire Dragon is no joke. Boom, hit, stop the timer.
12 seconds.
That's perfect. So the first stage of the Fire Dragon flew for 12 seconds and it flew straight. Now it's time to work on the second stage. Now we want that to happen in the middle of its flight. So 6 seconds after it launches, the fire arrows need to start shooting out of its mouth. So I need to cut a fuse. So that happens at exactly 6 seconds. This is gonna be awesome. Fire.
Yep, now they know the fuse time, the guys can at last put the second stage to a proof of concept test. So with a new Dragon, a 10 rocket arrow warhead, and a 6-second fuse,
Fire Dragon.
It's all set for the Stage 2 showdown.
All right, now listen, I need you to fly into the air, and at 6 seconds, I need you to start shooting your fire arrows out of your mouth. All right, you got that? Don't make me look stupid.
All right, so this is 10 live rocket arrows inside of the Fire Dragon.
In 3, 2, 1. Yeah!
Whoa!
Houston, we have a problem.
Everything blew out.
Wow!
It blew out.
Now that was an unsuccessful launch. Now looking at the high speed, it looks like the engine actually broke free of the mount and it actually blasted up through the tube of the Fire Dragon, never igniting the fire arrows. So we're gonna reset and see if we can get the second stage to work. All right, round 2. Let's hope it works this time.
Okay, this is rocket test fully loaded with arrows. In 3, 2, 1. Whoa! Fins blew off. I don't know about that distance, but it looked like the rig worked.
Yeah! No, the fuses work perfectly, man!
It wasn't a textbook test, but it was mission accomplished. Moments after launch, the stabilizing fins fell off, sending the rocket spinning. But in spite of this, the second stage ignited on cue, and the rocket arrows fired. And that's enough to take this myth into battle.
Even with this crazy wind and the fins breaking off, we still had success. The second stage worked.
Yeah, you know, everything is basically working. We just need to make a few tweaks. Actually, we go back to the shop, figure that out, and make a whole bunch more.
And then we can come back here and go to war.
Yeah!
Salute your opponent. Engage.
In Duel Dilemma, Adam and Jamie are about to see who lives by the sword and who dies by it.
He'll be all right. It's only a flesh wound.
Next is the world of kendo or samurai. He who moves first loses.
So reaction is faster than action.
Right. Perhaps adrenaline helps your brain react to something faster than you could actually initiate it in the first place.
Well, it looks like we need to get some kendo training.
Let's do it.
Now, it should be noted here, neither Jamie nor I are experienced swordsmen, so we've brought in an expert. Mr. David Nakanishi is a 4th Dan Kendo practitioner, and he is going to instruct us in the basics enough to properly conduct this test without, hurting each other.
But it's not just training that should prevent potential injury.
This is our kendo armor. We have a shirt, a divided skirt, gloves, torso protection, waist protection, last but not least, the helmet. This is what I'm going to be wearing, and Adam will be doing the same.
And once kitted up, the kendo class begins. Full steam ahead.
You want to swing all the way over your head and come down, all right? Ow.
And after 3 hours of being hit,
Wow, that hurt.
again, and again,
This isn't very pleasant.
the guys have apparently mastered the basics.
Okay, so now we've learned different striking techniques, and because, well, we like bashing each other on the head best, we're going to test that technique and see whether, in fact, he who attacks first strikes last.
But before the reaction versus action battle commences, Adam's got a rig to rig.
So when Jamie and I go head to head, we need an automated system that does 2 things. First, it's got to randomly allocate who makes the first move, which is what this circuit box controls.
Nice.
And second, it's got to determine who wins. For that, I've coated our helmets and our swords with a conductive mesh so that when you get hit, your helmet lights up.
If this works, then my sword should light up Jamie's helmet. It does! And Jamie's sword should light up my helmet. It does! We are totally ready.
Well, in that case, it's back to the dojo, which has had a makeover for both aesthetics and science.
Our setup here is pretty straightforward. Who attacks first will be determined by a little signal light. There's one over Jamie's shoulder that only I can see, and the same over my shoulder for him. If I see my signal light go on, I take a deep breath, and sometime between 5 and 10 seconds later, I attack. If I hit Jamie correctly, his lights go on. If he hits me correctly, so do mine. The high-speed camera tells us who got there first.
We should make due note here that this isn't about wailing away at each other until somebody gives. This is one strike at a time, and we're recording the results.
All right, Mr. Heineman, are you ready?
I'm ready.
Here we go. Begin test 1.
On cue, the randomizer selects that it's Adam who has to move first. But who won?
So check this first shot out. Classic Jamie, you give him a contest and he only pays attention to the ultimate parameter of the contest, which is I've got to light up the lights on Adam's head. You can see I'm actually going for a full hit and Jamie's just reaching out and poking with his stick.
And what that means is test 1's tie is invalid. For test 2,
ready?
Where the randomizer again selects Adam, it's go big or go home.
Ow! Like getting hit with a 2x4.
Yeah, it doesn't feel good.
This time, with 2 sizable swings, Adam's the clear winner, which is not good news for the myth. For test 3, Jamie selected to lead. And like test 2, he who moved first actually won.
Oh.
But the guys aren't giving up on this myth without a fight, as they break through the pain barrier in 20 separate bouts.
Jamie and I spent all day in that armor smacking each other in the heads with those shinai. And you should note a couple of things as we're going. One, you can see clearly that we get faster as we go, which means that it doesn't hurt less, it actually hurts more as we progress. And secondly, the shinai that we're using, they're wrapped in screen. They're about half a pound heavier each, which means we're taking more force on our head than the armor's been designed for, and both of us could feel it the next day.
Oh, sorry, Jamie. Yeah, I didn't know when I signed up for this job that it required impacts to the head. I've got a headache.
So do I. Let's go crunch our data and nurse our wounds.
Back at the shop, with medication taken,
First mover, first hit. That was you.
the guys review all 20 high speeds.
That was a tie.
And a pattern emerges fast.
Well, Jamie and I have reviewed many, many high-speed shots of us whacking each other in the head, and it would seem that our injuries are not for naught because the results are pretty consistent. We could not find a single case where the second person to move achieved the first hit. And keep in mind, this is not about skill at kendo. We broke this down to simple reaction time, and the first mover always won in our testing. That's pretty definitive.
So definitive that this myth is busted. In the middle of the Mojave Desert, the MythBusters missile has delivered its payload.
So the proof of concept worked. All 10 rocket arrows came out of the missile mid-launch. Now what?
We ramp it up. We build 10 fire dragons, take them back out to the desert, and have a real-world ballistics battle.
All right, but before we have an all-out launch, let's fire one rocket arrow from the ground and see how far it flies.
Yeah, that's a great idea because a rocket arrow would have been the most advanced technology of its time. So in order to move on to the next weapon, you would have to beat the old technology.
Sounds great.
Sounds like we have a lot of building to do.
Yep, with a dozen dragons to deliver, the guys divide and conquer. As Grant preps the arrows,
Raining death from above.
Tori the fuses,
Oh, this is gonna be so awesome.
and Carrie the dragon heads.
Now, back in the day of the fire dragon, they probably had lots of artisans to make these heads. We just got me. So I'm gonna vacuum form these because we need 10.
And once all the parts are assembled, the production line can begin.
All right, so to execute this experiment, we've got a veritable fire dragon factory happening here. We've got to get all of our fire dragon bodies built. We've got to glue 100 rockets to 100 arrows. We've got to get those put into our rocket holding tubes and get those tubes glued into the fire dragon bodies. And then at the very end, we've got to decorate everything. We've got a big job ahead of us.
It sure is a big job, but a job that's made easier by using modern materials.
So with vacuum-formed dragon heads and hobby rocket motors, we are obviously not using 14th century technology. However, with these modern materials, we are only altering two things. One, how quickly we can assemble these dragons, and with these modern day rockets, they're a lot safer. But for everything else, like thrust, weight, center of gravity, there's no difference with our 21st century components.
In other words, their fire dragons are realistic. What's more, they're also complete.
Dude, I think we're done. These look great.
Let's go to the desert.
All right, let's go launch the fire dragon.
Back in the middle of nowhere, the guys start by building a firing range.
Okay, that is 100 yards.
Because first up are the distance tests.
Did you pack enough water?
Comparing a regular rocket arrow with a fire dragon warhead.
This is weird. It's like we're the last couple on Earth.
And with the range maxed out,
750 yards.
the guys retreat to the launch pad.
All right, so this is a single rocket arrow.
All right, let's see how far this goes by itself.
Yeah. Oh, wow.
Oh, those things.
Skywriting a little bit, and now it's falling to the earth.
Yes, what goes up must come down, 650 yards away. And that means it's time to unleash the beast.
So what we're looking for here is to have the first stage of this two-stage rocket fire off straight and stable. And then here, about midway through its flight, it deploys its second stage in the form of 10 fire arrows. The rocket arrows have to land at least here, 750 yards away from the start, thus extending the range of the arrows for this to be a viable weapon in battle.
Grant's right. If its arrows don't better the control, then this missile will bomb.
All right, the rocket is loaded.
In 3, 2, 1.
just as hoped, the launch works perfectly. And then mid-flight, poof, the arrows are released. But the key question here is, how far did they go?
For this test, we have some good news and bad news. The bad news is we haven't been able to find all 10 arrows, which suggests that accuracy is going to be an issue. Now, the good news is that minimum distance they went was 800 yards. That's well beyond the rocket arrow alone, and that means the battle can commence.
In Duel Dilemma, it's MythBusters 2, Fight Fable 0.
I hit it right in the chest.
Or is it?
Something's been bugging me about the don't bring a knife to a gunfight test we've done.
What's that?
Well, we tested it in a quick draw scenario where both parties know exactly what's about to happen. Suppose it wasn't a quick draw scenario.
If I was running for you, I could cover a heck of a lot of ground by the time you got that gun out and fired.
Exactly what I'm thinking.
So you're the shooter again, and I'm just running straight at you?
Actually, you're gonna start by running away from me.
How do you figure?
You'll find out.
Okay.
So it's Knife versus Gun Part 2. And back at Bout HQ, Adam's readying to run rings around Jamie.
The myth is that it is foolish to bring a knife to a gunfight. But if you were standing in front of me with a knife in your hand and I've got a gun in my holster, I think I'm in danger. What we want to know is, what is the minimum distance at which a knife is in fact dangerous to a person with a gun? This circle is how we're going to figure that out. Jamie and I will stand back to back on this dot. When he feels the muse, Jamie will start to run towards the outside of the circle. The moment I feel him move, I pull out my gun, cock it, pull the safety off, and fire around. The moment Jamie hears me fire around, he stops running. The distance at which he's standing when he stops running should be the minimum distance at which a knife is dangerous to a gun.
You ready to do this?
Absolutely. All right, here we go.
Now, how are you going to tell when I'm moving?
We go back to back like this. We have to touch, unfortunately.
Okay.
With the boys in their just good friends starting positions, the waiting game begins. Until...
I was a little slow on that one.
Not only was Adam slow, but Jamie was fast, passing beyond the 24-foot perimeter before Adam got his shot off.
What's surprising to me about this is that Adam only has to move the mass of his arms a couple of feet to do his job. Now, granted, he's got to do a couple of delicate movements in that process to complete it, but I, on the other hand, have to get my entire body mass moving really quickly, and I'm covering almost 30 feet in the best case scenario, which I just never would have expected that I could do.
Working under the assumption that Adam will get faster, but Jamie won't, the guys run the gauntlet 4 more times. And the average result is that Jamie makes it to an impressive 24 feet. So what does that mean for the myth?
Now, I am totally blown away by what this test suggests, which is that bringing a knife to a gunfight might actually be the smart move if the distance separating the knife wielder from the gunslinger is 24 feet or less, which is a heck of a lot more distance than I ever thought it would be. Now, of course, we don't know this for sure until we reverse engineer it and have Jamie run at me from that distance. We'll see who gets the first kill.
And to do just that, Adam adds a foam knife to his samurai switch box, so it'll make for some safe stabbing.
Here's how this goes. I wear the hat. I wear the shirt. Jamie runs at me with a knife. If he successfully stabs me, I die. The lights tell you that I'm dead.
With both duelers dressed for success,
I feel conductive.
It's go time.
Now this time, I'm not shooting at any cardboard cowboy. I'm staring right at the face of death because Heinemann is running straight towards me.
But just like the time before, I'm going to be starting at will, running like crazy for Adam, and trying to stab him before he shoots me.
Perhaps now is a good time to say, don't try what you're about to see at home.
You ready? I'm ready when you are.
Are you okay?
It had to happen sooner or later.
It's a spectacular result, if a little unexpected. Less true grit, more blazing saddles. And unfortunately for Jamie, the high speed caught every last frame. Once upon a time in the West, cowboys were coached to never bring a knife to a gunfight. And after test 1, that seems like good advice.
I'm ready when you are.
But with Jamie reset at the 24-foot mark, it's kill or be killed, take 2.
I nailed you right in the chest, but man, that is terrifying. Totally terrifying.
Yep, a sprinting, screaming Heineman is what nightmares are made of. But at this distance, it was Adam who won the duel. Just barely. So Jamie shifts the start line to 20 feet.
All right, my safety's on. Gun is loaded. Dude, I've never heard you make that noise, ever. In these face-to-face tests, I've been able to shoot Jamie at both 24 and 20 feet, although 20 feet was quite close. But the fact that I'm able to make that distance shorter than I was for the other test makes sense to me, because watching him run at me while screaming is a fantastic adrenaline rush. It is absolutely an incredible motivation to get things in order to shoot him before I die.
But will it be motivation enough for a 16-foot showdown?
By the way, I would take careful note of Jamie's shenanigans just before he runs, because I can tell psychologically he's actually trying to make me laugh and then exploit the lull in my attention just post-laughing. Oh, no, no, no. It's on. Let's do it. Ah! I'm dead. I touched you with the gun, but I wasn't able to fire, and you had the knife deep in my chest.
You're dead.
I'm dead. I'm dead.
Yep, at last, the Heineman's the hero. From 16 feet, Adam could draw and cock, but not fire. A pattern repeated on subsequent tests.
I'm dead. I'm dead. It's official. I'm totally dead.
So what does that mean for the myth?
When you hear the phrase, "don't bring a knife to a gunfight," it implies that if you're the one holding the gun, you should feel completely relaxed in your superior firepower against your opponent's Stone Age tool. And I think we've totally busted that. Here we have demonstrated that at close quarters, a knife is a very respectable and to be feared opponent. Well, that is pretty definitive. You're able to get to me between 16 and 18 feet.
Yep. Let's call 18 feet a guaranteed death zone by knife.
That is shocking. I would not have called it being that far.
Me neither.
Two-stage missiles have been used in warfare for decades. But could they have a far longer history than that? To find out, cue the Fire Dragon finale.
Now it's time to put our Fire Dragon myth to the ultimate test. We're going to fire 10 rockets into the air, and we're going to see how it does in a battle situation. We have our Chinese army and a castle. We're going to put them out at 800 yards.
If attacking a distant enemy wasn't hard enough,
Good luck, man.
Here we go.
the wind is blowing a gale,
Come on, bring it on!
making this test the ultimate trial by fire dragon.
All right, men, we are going into battle. Ready? Charge! Come on, charge! Come on, you guys, charge! What are you waiting for?
With the targets ready to stand and deliver, at mission control,
Unveil the arsenal.
it's time to ready the rockets.
So we've got 10 fire dragons, each with 10 rocket arrows inside. And we're gonna call this whole myth based on two things.
Death from the sky.
First, will all second stages fire off? In other words, will the weapon be reliable?
Lead the charge. The Golden Dragon!
And second, will it take out a significant number of soldiers? In other words, does it have any degree of accuracy?
Be so awesome.
Now for this myth to be confirmed, both those answers need to be yes.
You guys ready to find out if this ancient weapon was a viable one?
I just hope they don't know Kato on the launch pad.
All right, time for war.
With the opposing army half a league away and the hot winds sweeping through this valley of death, it's time for our charges to launch this light brigade.
All right, this is Fire Dragon, the final launch.
The full onslaught. All right, here we go. This is for real. In 3, 2, 1, fire!
Wow is right as all 10 take off. And then,
Oh, it's raining down! Wow.
Just landing now, and they are landing everywhere.
All right, let's go check it out.
from the bunker, the guys know that 7 out of 10 second stages fired, meaning 70 arrows deployed. But did any hit the target? Well, no.
So we found maybe 40 arrows, but here's the thing. Less than 10 are in the target zone. Some fell early at around the 400-yard mark, but others sailed way beyond the castle to like 1,100 yards. Clearly, the wind didn't help, but as far as accuracy goes, this was a fail.
Ain't that the truth? With not a single soldier struck down, the fire dragons proved fickle.
All right, so where are we with the fire dragon myth? Did it fulfill all the requirements? Well, yes and no. For one, the first stage fired off straight and stable. 2, the second stage deployed, thus increasing the range of the arrows. The problem is that it's not reliable. We had 10 fire dragons out there. Not all of them deployed all of their arrows. If that were the case, you'd see 100 arrows in this region, but we only see 5 or 10. So yes, it's plausible that it might have existed, but is it a practical weapon? No.
All right, what do you guys think?
Well, we got them in the vicinity.
Yeah, but they're not accurate or completely reliable. I mean, you might instill fear in your enemy, but it's not practical.
All right, so not really effective or efficient and overly complicated, but definitely plausible.
All right, plausible it is.
That was awesome.
So awesome, let's see that plausible launch one more time. On this gun-toting episode of MythBusters, the team comes out all guns blazing.
Adios, muchachos.
As they take aim at 8 full-bore firearms fables. Can a hero survive a rain of fire? Does the cowboy who draws first die first?
I'm dead as a doornail.
And can you nail someone with a nail gun?
Yeah, look at that.
But that's just the start. With machine gun versus stairs, bizarre bullets, and double the trouble.
I've taken out Jamie's left arm with extreme prejudice.
So get ready to go gun-ho as we lock and load in the ultimate gun-slinging extravaganza.
You feel lucky, punk?
Yeah.
are the MythBusters. Adam Savage.
That is science.
And Jamie Heineman.
I'm ready.
Between them, more than 30 years of special effects experience. Together with Grant Imahara.
Into the belly of the beast.
Carrie Byron.
Time to wreck this car.
And Tori Belleci. They don't just tell the myths, they put them to the test. It's the Hollywood Guns Special, and the MythBusters are going ballistic with a chamber full of firearms folklore.
So you're a cowboy, and you're... what are you?
I'm a sniper, can't you tell?
Not really, but I'm pretty sure we're doing a special on guns.
Exactly. We got a whole show all about Hollywood gun myths, and believe me, we got a lot of them.
Yeah, some of them are movie specific, like the scene from True Lies where Jamie Lee Curtis drops a machine gun down the stairs, the machine gun goes off and kills all the bad guys. And some are plastic cliches, like who would win in a quick draw? Is it the bad guy who pulls first, or the good guy who reacts?
I love it!
First up is a myth we're calling unlimited ammo.
Yeah, this is from one of those classic action films where there's this never-ending gunfight where they continue to shoot round after round after round.
We know that guns have magazines with a finite amount of rounds, so what's the test?
Well, I think we need to find out how long it actually takes to empty a magazine, and then we'll know how long a Hollywood gunfight should take.
I like it.
So for a trial by time, the MythBusters hit the road for the range.
Time to shoot for science.
I don't feel like shooting guns today.
And to test this myth, they'll need a timer and a plan of automatic action.
Now to test this, we'll start out here behind the blind. We'll step out, just like in an action movie, and begin firing. When we begin firing, our digital timer is going to start. We'll time exactly how long it takes to deplete our magazines.
And this is the MythBusters Hollywood action and war movie arsenal. We have the MAC-10, famous from True Lies. We have the Uzi, which you might have seen in The Terminator, the AK-47, which was famous from Rambo, and the M16, which you may have seen in movies like Full Metal Jacket. We're gonna start small and work our way up.
And first up with the smallest automatic weapon is Tori.
The MAC-10 submachine gun. Compact, simple, deadly. And I'd be lying if I said I wasn't excited to shoot this. Say hello to my little friend. You guys ready?
Ready.
Here we go.
2 seconds.
Oh my gosh!
That's not a whole lot of action hero time.
I'm a little bit jealous right now, just a little bit jealous.
I'm gonna have to say that was one of the best feelings I've ever had in my life. I think I might go to check my pants real quick.
It was all over in the blink of an eye. Tori emptied the MAC-10 magazine in under 2 seconds. But will the Uzi be just as quick on the draw?
This is Uzi 9mm.
Yes. The Uzi is done faster than Grant can let out a homicidal scream.
25 rounds in 2 seconds.
2 seconds.
Up next, AK-47.
It'll get my Rambo on.
2 seconds is the time to beat. So it's over to Carrie with automatic weapon number 3.
That looks deadly.
All right, Carrie, show us what you got.
2 seconds.
Wow, that was fast.
Carrie came out all guns blazing, and just like the other guns, she's out in 2 seconds, which is not looking good for the extended Hollywood fire. Gun number 4 is the biggest and the baddest of the lot, the M16.
M16, here we go.
And when it repeats the pattern, unloading its lead in 2 seconds, it's clear this Hollywood gunfight is on thin ice.
Nothing so far has been longer than 2 seconds.
You know what? This movie myth is looking busted. I mean, in the movies, they shoot for days. We only lasted 2 seconds.
Yeah, but you never actually see the reload. What if we add that into the equation? We shoot, reload, shoot again, and time the whole thing.
I like where your head's at.
Next up, a myth that's a blast from the past. When the MythBusters took a stance on cinematic stances,
I really like how that feels. It's like a rocking horse of death.
they found that Hollywood was more style than substance. But the fans say there's more to this firearms fashion.
So, you know, since that episode aired, fans say they spotted a mistake in our methodology.
What's that?
Well, when we were doing the double firing, we were firing in a logical manner, i.e. alternating our shots. Bang, 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 bang.
But Hollywood's not logical.
No, it isn't. And fans pointed out that they've seen movies where people were firing both guns simultaneously. So they want us to do the test again, firing at both single and double targets, but this time firing both guns simultaneously.
Well, I'm for that.
And to find out if a synchronized double is more effective, they're at the Rod and Gun Club.
Our scoring methodology is going to be the same as last time. Let me refresh your memory. Here in the black, that's 10 points, 7 points. In the white, 6 points, and in the red, 5 points. We tally up all the bullet holes, divide by the amount of time it took to shoot them, and we get our score. Now, when we did this test the first time, our control score was 7.3. That is our target. Anything close to or above that proves that the techniques we're going to be trying are actually effective.
So first up, it's double or nothing for Jamie, as he gives this myth both barrels.
Stand by. Dude, nice grouping. That looks like a good score.
Jamie certainly was firing on both cylinders. His simultaneous shots all hit the target, and his points are impressive.
69 points. Nice work, Heinemann.
Nice work. And divided by his time, that gets him a score of 9.3. So now it's over to Adam. Unlike Jamie, Adam's aim was a little off.
Oh, man. I clustered all over on the right side. Look it, I've taken out Jamie's left arm with extreme prejudice.
But he still got some points on the target.
37. 37.
Which, when tallied for his score, makes this simultaneous double shot technique look plausible.
At this point, firing both guns simultaneously at a single target like so, I got a 9.3, Adam got a 6.9, and that gives us an average of 8.1, which is very respectable given that our control was 7.3.
Very respectable. But to put this double barreling to the ultimate test, next they're doubling the targets.
Tell me when you're ready.
Okay, I'm ready.
Stand by. Jamie, dude, you were like killing it.
You were hitting most shots on both targets.
Well, that's cool. I am right-handed, so the right one was a little better, but who knew?
Yeah, nicely done.
Well, shooting simultaneously at two targets like this worked a lot better than I thought. I got bullseyes in both of them, and most of the bullets hit on the target somewhere, so it should be a decent score.
231. Very good.
28.
41. 69 points.
Jamie's points are on the board, giving him a final score of 8.3. But to call this, they need the average. So it's over to Adam for the final double act.
Nice scoring on the right hand.
Yeah, on the left hand, not so awesome. All right, I got 42. What did you get?
You got 17.
17. 59, not bad.
That's good.
Cool.
And that tells the story. The average for the double target test is just above the control.
In our earlier tests, we didn't score very well by firing like so with two pistols, which is understandable because you're doing it really quickly, so you don't have much time to aim and shoot. However, when we hold both guns like so and fire them at the same time, you're treating them as one gun, and you have a little more time to be accurate. As far as firing like this, I have no idea why that worked, but it did. Where do we stand?
The fans were totally right. Shooting simultaneously, worth trying, and actually better.
According to the movies, when it comes to guns, you'll never run short on ammo. But unsurprisingly, this cinematic cliche is looking dubious.
All right, look, this one's pretty much busted. I mean, for all of our automatic weapons, the longest time we had was 2 seconds to deplete our ammo. Action heroes usually shoot for 5-10 minutes. So, what if there was a reload that we didn't see off screen?
So by reading between the shots and reloading, will they get the heroic Hollywood run of rapid fire?
All right, this is MAC-10, unloading full magazine, reloading, and unloading magazine again. In 3, 2, 1. Reload!
All right, 10 seconds.
That was really fast.
Yeah, you know what? Considering half of that time was the reload.
That didn't suck.
With twice the ammo, Tori's firing time blew out to 10 seconds.
Reload!
But that's still nowhere near long enough for an action movie shoot 'em up. So Grant tries with the Uzi.
All right, he's out in 10 seconds.
That's ridiculous. Can you imagine a 10-second firefight in an action movie?
No, you see action movies and they are firing forever.
Once again, the real-time unload is far shorter than the action movie standard.
So far, with one reload, expending 2 magazines, we've only been able to get 10 seconds worth of firefight. It's not quite enough for us. So we're gonna try this again with the easiest to load weapon with the most number of magazines that we have available, which is 4. For a total of 100 bullets in the Uzi.
100 bullets and 4 times the amount of ammo. But will that get them a cinematic span of continuous fire?
Here we go. 3, 2, 1.
He's out. Reload. He's out.
Reload.
Out. Reload. Done. All right. 27 seconds. This myth is busted.
Now, even with the impressive loading and reloading of 4 magazines, we're still only talking about 27 seconds. Now, with the average action sequence being about 5 minutes, that's like 1,000 rounds or so. To carry that much ammunition would be incredibly heavy, and you never actually see them reload in the movies. So this one, busted.
Look, we can't very well do an episode about Hollywood gun myths without addressing a few cliches which, despite our busting them, Hollywood keeps on rolling out.
Like what?
I was watching Mission Impossible 4, and there's this chase scene that ends with the good guys driving a car into a body of water, and then the bad guys show up and unload hundreds of rounds into the water. The good guys are under the water, cowering as these bullets are whizzing by them through the water.
Now that's bogus.
We know it's bogus, but Hollywood still doesn't seem to have learned. Let's show them why it's bogus. Roll the tape.
Yep, the MythBusters know all about the incompressibility of water.
Well, there's your problem.
Testing if you could shoot an underwater enemy.
The box jellyfish is one of the most lethal foes you'll encounter in your average swimming pool.
They put a ballistics gel cube target 4 feet below the surface and took aim.
There is no bullet in the ballistics gel.
But every single bullet decelerated so fast, they split into fragments.
Wow, this thing's breaking up the minute it hits the water. No wonder we can't hit the ballistics gel.
And not even the super-powered 50 cal could make it past the 4-foot mark.
1.
The water obviously has a profound effect on the bullet in completely eliminating its deadliness very quickly.
So, please, Hollywood, the science says no. Next up, the MythBusters step on it.
All right, so this next myth we alluded to earlier, where Jamie Lee Curtis is handed a MAC-10 machine gun. She fumbles it, drops it, it goes down a set of stairs and begins going off, and miraculously kills all the bad guys.
Now, we can't test the miraculous aim, but we can test whether dropping a MAC-10 down a flight of stairs will go off.
All right, machine gun and the set of stairs coming up.
Can we get Jamie Lee Curtis for this one?
This dramatic ballistic bounce all comes down to the gravity of the situation. Could a dropped machine gun really have a stair trigger?
So this is the plan to test the myth. We have the MAC-10 just like from the movie. It'll have 30 rounds, there'll be blanks. We have the staircase just like the film, and what we're gonna do is we're gonna release the gun as if somebody was holding it and dropping it. And then we'll see as it falls down the stairs if it does in fact go off by itself, just like the movie.
Now, in the movie, Jamie Lee Curtis is actively firing the weapon when the recoil causes her to drop it. So, the safety would be off. In our case, safety's gonna be off, it's gonna be ready to fire. I think that an accidental discharge is possible.
Oh, this is gonna be fun.
I think maybe we'll get one, maybe two, but then that's it. But I think it could happen.
And because this is what it does when the safety is off, they take cover to see if it'll fire that shower of shots when it drops.
All right, this is fully automatic machine gun drop down the stairs. Here we go in 3, 2, 1. Well, it dropped down one stair, but didn't shoot off.
No, I didn't see any bad guys getting killed by that.
Nope, in fact, it's the definition of anticlimactic.
So we dropped the machine gun from a height that you would be holding the gun, and surprise, it didn't fire off. It actually bounced down 2 stairs and didn't fire once. So we're gonna raise the height of the gun, drop it again, and see if we can get this thing to fire off.
Yeah. The higher it is, the harder it should fall. So will that make the difference?
Breaks my heart to drop this gun down these stairs.
There's only one way to find out.
Here we go, MAC-10 on the stairs, drop from 3.5 feet.
Here we go, in 3, 2, 1. Oh, that was perfectly. The gun did not fire 1 round.
You know what? It hit really hard, and you can't ask for anything more than that. No discharge.
This one's busted. Busted.
Yep, unlike the ballistic bedlam of the movie, the dropped MAC-10 didn't fire a single shot.
So we gave this myth the best possible chance of working. We duplicated the circumstances in the movie. Now, how'd they do it in the movie? Well, likely it was a modified gun. Maybe it had a hair trigger, maybe it had some other type of internal modification. But the bottom line is, with a stock MAC-10, this one's busted.
And now, the MythBusters hit the nail on the head.
All right, so next up is the classic Hollywood cliche, the nail gun gun.
Yeah, this comes from a movie where a good guy and bad guy are having a shootout on a construction site. The good guy loses his gun, and right as the bad guy is about to take him down, he grabs a nail gun and shoots.
And he's got impeccable aim, and it's entirely lethal to the bad guy every time.
So some nail gun target practice?
If you're caught short without the right tool for the job, the Hollywood solution is on the nail. But could you really take down an enemy with a nail gun?
We're going to test a classic action movie makeshift weapon, the nail gun. Now, it works a lot like a regular gun. You've got a magazine, the nails are fed through it, they load into the barrel, and then coiled springs actually do the hammering and shoot the nail. We're gonna test the accuracy and penetration and see how it stands up to a regular gun.
First, we're gonna do a control test with a 9mm pistol into that target. Then we're gonna fire the nail gun to see how accurate it is and how much penetration it has. We're gonna be shooting at a distance of 14 feet, which is an average distance of a typical shootout. All right, this is control test with a 9mm.
And after a little sharp shooting, the target to beat is clear.
All right, so we got right here, It's a 2.5-inch group with the 9mm pistol, and these passed all the way through. Now it's time to bring on the nail gun.
It's tool time.
All right, nail gun test to see how accurate and deadly it is.
And remember, don't try this at home.
You ready? Nail it. Good shoot.
Corey hammers out a barrage of nails at the target.
Your accuracy is very good.
And it seems like his aim is bang on. But when it comes to penetration, the nails aren't nailing.
All right, it seems accurate, but you know what? At 14 feet, there's no way it's penetrating and it's lethal.
After our first set of tests with the nail gun, it turns out Tori's really accurate with it. But as far as penetration goes, well, the nails, they're just bouncing off the wood. So we're gonna move into half that distance, 7 feet, and try it again.
So will halving the distance double the penetration power of the nails?
All right, nail gun as a lethal weapon at 7 feet. Bounce off.
Once again, the nails fly true.
Oh! Yeah, look at that.
And a few even lodge in the target.
Oh!
But even at half the distance, the nail gun doesn't drive all the nails home. Instead, most bounce off the target once again.
All right, well, we got a few to stick.
Yeah, but that's out of 15 shots.
Yeah, the nail gun is not a very consistent weapon, and when they did hit the target, they didn't penetrate that deep.
Which is the final nail in the coffin for this myth. Because to be lethal, the nails would have to pass clean through.
Now, this nail gun is surprisingly accurate, considering it's not designed as a range weapon. But it's got nowhere near the penetrating power of a 9mm pistol. This one's busted.
You know, whenever I fly, I leave the double holster rig at home because guns and planes don't mix. I don't think that's up for debate.
No, but what is how Hollywood portrays what happens when those two things meet. Instead of a stray bullet causing a small hole in the plane, the whole side of the plane blows out, taking stewards and passengers and bad guys and good guys along with it.
Yes, and what is the real truth behind what happens when you shoot a hole in a plane? Well, I think we know the answer to that.
Yep, way back when, the answer was plain to see.
Okay, guys, the gun is loaded.
With their jet pressurized to match a cruising altitude of 35,000 feet, firing into the fuselage and even into the window didn't work.
If anything, testing this myth made me feel safer about flying, because it showed that even if somebody fires a bullet through the window that you're sitting at, all you're going to hear is like a rushing sound, but it's not going to destroy the plane at all.
The only way you can really get explosive decompression is, surprisingly enough, with explosives.
Please make sure your tray tables are in the upright and locked position.
Next up, it's pistols at dawn.
All right, picture this. You're in an old Western-style duel, staring each other down with a twitchy trigger finger. One of you draws, you both shoot. Who wins?
Wouldn't it be the guy who draws first? I mean, his gun's already out. He's firing sooner, right?
Yeah, but you know what? In every Hollywood movie, it's always the guy who draws second that wins the gun battle.
Well, the real-life scenario seems like it makes more sense, but research suggests that your reaction times are actually quicker when you're reacting versus initiating a draw.
So you're quicker if you fire second.
Yeah.
I guess it's quick draw time for us.
I warned you about laughing at the law. Now pitch up or go for your gun.
This Wild West myth is all about the luck of the draw. But can the good guy really defeat the bad guy at 10 paces, even though he draws second? Back at the range, they've got the timing right to find out.
Draw! Now, yeah, I know this sounds like a convenient cowboy action movie plot point. Even though the hero draws second, he always wins. But as a matter of fact, this very point has been discussed by a number of noted physicists, including Niels Bohr, Nobel Prize winner and quantum physicist, who postulated that if you draw second because you're reacting without thinking, you can actually move faster.
That's the theory, but to find out if it works outside of the movies, how is this myth going to face off?
So this is how we're gonna run our experiment. We're gonna draw our guns and take a shot on our own volition, record it on high speed and see exactly how much time it takes to pull the gun from the holster and take the shot.
And once we have our action times, we'll perform the test again to get our reaction times reacting to this light. When we see the light go on, we draw.
Now, normally in a shootout, the cowboys would be using a single action revolver like this. Now, single action revolver means you have to pull the hammer back before it will fire. Now, we want to remove that from the equation, so we're going with a double action pistol. That means you squeeze the trigger and it fires.
Because this test is all about reaction time, not skill, the squeeze trigger is key.
All right, cowgirl, you're up first.
Let's do it.
And to draw first blood, it's Buffalo Byron.
You feel lucky, punk?
Test 1 has Carrie initiating the draw.
Nice shoot, Tex. Yeehaw!
That's a good one.
Then Tori and Grant trigger the red light.
That was pretty fast.
That was much faster than your initial shot.
I think there's a lot of adrenaline for this one, because I was just like,
I think so.
And while the high speed captured her lightning-fast response, the number crunching won't happen till the data on all three amigos and their reactions are in. Next, the Imahara kid steps up.
yeah, that was it.
After initiating, it's time for the red light. And Grant waits a little longer for his cue.
All right, nice shooting.
Took a while. I had to blink. My eyes were watering.
All right, I'm gonna go get into character.
Oh, no.
Finally, Tombstone Tori takes aim for his quick draw.
Adios, muchachos.
That was quick. That looked good. Looks like you've done some quick draw before.
Oh yeah, back on the mean streets of Monterey, California.
Well, I hear that's the area a lot of cowboys come from.
And then faces off against the red light.
I felt like I went slower on my reaction time.
I felt slower too.
Did you?
Yeah.
But we'll see with the high speed.
Yeah, we won't know for sure.
This myth all comes down to the comparisons. And first up, they're delving into Tori's draws.
So, Tori, you actually went faster.
What?
Yeah, by 140 milliseconds.
Tori's reaction was a fraction faster, which is good news for the myth. But when it comes to Grant,
I went a little bit slower. I was 16 milliseconds. I mean, it's virtually the same.
but the most startling results are from Quick Draw Byron.
And then Carrie, 290 milliseconds faster.
Wow.
I'm good under pressure.
Good under pressure indeed. Both Carrie and Tori's reaction draws were actually faster. So what does that mean for the myth?
Now, based on our experiments, it seems that reaction time is actually faster than action time. Now, in my case, the performance was similar, but in Carrie's case, it was vastly improved. Of course, that doesn't take into account having a moving target, a live target. So I think for the next step, we're going to have to fire at each other.
Yep, the myth that reaction is better than action is looking good. But for the ultimate test, they'll face off at 10 paces. It's been ballistic bedlam for the Hollywood Gun Special. And there's still 4 pistol-popping myths in the chamber. So, let's get back to the Wild West.
It's a tableau that you've seen in 100 westerns. 2 gunslingers facing each other down in a lonely alley. One good, one bad. The good guy waits for the bad guy to start to move, and then he shoots him dead. The myth is that the first guy to move is going to lose.
Yep, and so far, Carrie, Tori, and Grant
So, Tori, you actually went faster.
found that you can react faster than initiate.
290 milliseconds faster.
I'm good under pressure.
But now it's over to the new sheriffs in town. Will the second to draw still win the duel when they start firing at each other with paintballs?
So it's come down to this. Adam and I will be facing off at a distance of 10 feet.
I will draw first 3 times, and then Jamie will draw first 3 times.
And then we'll have a look at the high speed and see if he who moves first dies first.
And with both our outlaws wearing paintball protection, Sundance Savage will initiate first, and then the Heineman will react. Who will draw first paint?
We shot at the exact same time.
Adam drew first, but it seems as though the shots were simultaneous. So the winner of these split-second draws...
I'm sorry.
You got me right here.
That was a lovely, clean shot right there.
Won't be decided until the high-speed referee has all the data. And after 3 savage draws, it's Jamie's turn.
Ah, you totally got me. Nice hit.
I think you got me.
The Heineman is just as quick on the draw as Adam.
I gotcha.
You totally got me. Oh, you nailed me. I got a shot off almost just right at the same time you did, but I missed you.
And he gets all his shots off cleanly.
I'm dead as a doornail. Oh, wait, right, I'm dead.
Adam's playing dead, but who actually won this battle of the draw?
We've reviewed all the high speeds, and the first thing we determined is that Jamie and I are pretty evenly matched in terms of our reaction time and our shooting, which means that every single time the first guy to draw was the first guy to get off a shot.
So it seems that when you're reacting to a cowboy and not a red light, there's no substitute for drawing first.
He who draws first dies first? I think we've completely busted it here.
Yeah, we did. But you know what? Even though the first guy to draw was always the first guy to shoot, it wasn't by much, which means that if both guys are decent shots, both guys are more than likely dead.
Yeah, it's not a test of skill, it's a mutual suicide pact. Let's get out of here.
Next, take cover, because the MythBusters are taking aim at cinematic ammunition.
All right, so this next Hollywood gun cliche has to deal with weird bullets.
What are we talking about here?
All right, the Lone Ranger, he used silver bullets. Some gangsters use bullets with the names of their victims inscribed on the bullet.
Oh, so the myth is whether these unusual bullets would actually work as ammunition.
Exactly. An engraved bullet might be unbalanced. A silver bullet might not have the right density, and it might just break apart.
According to the horror movies, a silver bullet is the only thing that can stop a werewolf dead. And marking a bullet with the name of your enemy is Westerns 101. But would these weird ballistics even hit the mark?
Ladies and gentlemen, let me introduce you to public enemy number 1.
We're gonna test the movie myth of the special bullet, the silver bullet, the bullet that you've engraved your enemy's name on.
Ooh.
Now, we've already tested the meat bullet and the ice bullet on this show.
One. I went in about an inch.
So you knew we were bound to get to these.
Now to test this myth, we'll be firing our M1 Garand at the target behind me. The things that we're interested in are accuracy and penetrating power. But to keep our aim consistent, we've brought in firearms consultant Stephen Liu, who's also an expert marksman.
Not only are we looking at how accurate these bullets are, but we also want to find out how much damage they do. So behind the target, we have blocks of clay. So that way these will record the damage of each bullet. Then we'll be able to compare the bullets and see which one does more damage. First up is our control test with a lead bullet firing 100 feet away.
Oh yeah, he hit the clay.
Yeah, that's a shower of clay. It's still coming down.
That's the control, and it's pottery in motion. But can the silver bullets make the same kind of claymation?
Now, I've cast silver before. Now, it shrinks when it cools, and it often deforms in pits. This could pose a problem for accuracy.
Maybe, but it's over to Steven to find out.
Okay, silver bullet this time.
What do you think?
I think we might be able to kill some werewolves.
We'll see. I don't know, can't tell.
No, not at all.
Even though the silver bullets have identical dimensions to the lead, test 1 missed the target. Shot 2 veers right. And so does shot 3.
It's veering off to the right.
So judging by the clay, this silver screen ammo is off the mark.
So it looks like the silver bullet isn't as accurate as a lead bullet. That's interesting.
Yeah, definitely not.
So if you're going for a kill shot on a werewolf, you're not even gonna hit his heart.
No.
That's like a hind leg.
So we had 3 silver bullets made, and they were shot by our marksman, and each time they went off course. 1 dropped low, and 2 went off to the right. And if you can see right here, 1 was actually tumbling when it hit the target, and hit the target sideways. The reason why is it's just too hard to get a silver bullet perfectly symmetrical in the casting process. So the silver bullet myth is busted.
Silver justice may be busted, but there's one more unconventional round in the chamber.
Now, it's a common theme in Westerns that if you have a mortal enemy, you carve their name into a bullet so that if you run into them, you can kill them with it. So we're gonna fire this bullet, but first, I'm gonna carve the name of a no-good dirty varmint into it. That's right, Buster.
But will Grant's beautiful cursive curve the bullet?
Now, our silver bullet suffered in accuracy because it wasn't perfect. The engraving might actually really affect the trajectory here. It's gonna be interesting to see.
Buster, we got a bullet with your name on it.
Steve's marksmanship is bang on. But did the carved bullet carve up the clay?
Oh!
So that looks about the same. I mean, we destroyed the first block of clay and put a dent in the second one.
So it looks like engraving made no difference at all.
Confirmed. Silver bullet? Not so much.
No. Here's the score with our special bullets. Now, the silver bullets don't fly straight. Whereas our engraved bullets, well, engraving makes absolutely no difference. So, silver bullets, 0, engraved bullets, 1.
Now for a moving target myth.
So here's another Hollywood gun cliche. The hero never gets hit.
Oh, that's in everything from Bond to the A-Team.
You know, depending on who the shooter is, guns might not be that accurate, especially handguns. And if the hero's running fast enough, he might be okay.
Well, you know, I got an idea of how to test this. Why don't we go to a shooting range? It has a lot of nooks and crannies and obstacles. And then, Carrie, you and I get some high-power paint guns, and we have Tori run the gauntlet.
I like where you're going with this, especially the high-powered paintball guns.
Oh, you guys are shooting. I was worried for a second.
Done.
It's a classic cinematic scenario. Running through a shower of bullets, miraculously, the hero remains unharmed. But can you really escape injury from a rain of fire?
We're here at the Yolo County Bomb Range to test the Hollywood myth. Can the action hero run through a firefight, get shot at by all the bad guys, and not get hit by one single bullet?
Well, to test that, they've got an obstacle course, and they're armed with paintball guns. But before they get started, they'll need protection.
Oh, future generations are groaning.
So here's how it's gonna go. To begin with, Carrie and I will be facing this direction. When everybody's ready, we'll yell 3, 2, 1, go. At which point the timer will start, Tori will start running, and we'll turn around and see how quickly we can shoot him.
My job is to get across this field without getting shot. But I do have an advantage. They have no idea where I'm gonna be starting from. Do I think they're gonna hit me? I wouldn't be doing this if I thought they had a chance.
Tori's supremely confident, but with both Carrie and Grant poised to shoot,
All right, looks like Tori's ready to go.
it's time for him to run for his hypothetical life.
Okay, this is it. This is my big chance to get across the field without getting hit.
In 3, 2, 1, go!
Tori runs the gauntlet.
Miss me!
ducking and diving.
Ah, got me. Got him!
But it's not long until he's hit. And no amount of cover will save him now. Because although Tori was quick, he's also dead.
Well, it turns out an action hero can get hit in a gunfire. How long did it take for me to get hit?
6 seconds.
That's not much time.
No, you know, compared to your average action hero movie, I mean, that seemed really easy.
6 seconds is all it took. But this myth ain't over until the good guy gets a gun.
You know what? That was a fun test. I'm not gonna lie.
Go!
Running across the field. As those two were firing at me, the adrenaline was surging through my body. And I almost made it all the way across the field. And then I got hit. But now we're moving on to the next test. This time, I get a gun and I'm firing back. Let's see if they can hit me now.
Part 1 is busted. But if the action hero is on the counterattack, is that enough to make him invincible? To find out, Carrie and Grant will attempt to evade Tori's fire, while he attempts to evade theirs.
All right, this is hero never gets hit with the hero firing back.
In 3, 2, 1, go!
This time, Tori takes the gauntlet from the other side, and he's giving as good as he gets. And he survives longer than his previous 6 seconds easily.
I didn't get hit. I made it and I didn't get hit. Eat my paint.
But as the test continues, at the 30-second mark, he takes a hit. But then, so do his foes. And the scientific testing devolves into a paintball free-for-all. But once the wild bunch calm down, what does that test mean for the myth?
Dang, you guys nailed me. All right, so how far did I make it before I got hit?
30 seconds.
30 seconds?
Yeah.
So why'd you guys keep shooting?
Because it was fun. Well, you know what? This one is still busted. I mean, the hero still gets hit no matter what.
Yeah, but you know what? It's a lot harder to get hit when you're firing back.
Yeah, but I think I got a little bloodthirsty. Once he left, I started shooting you both.
What happened there? Looks like I got you.
Yeah, I think we're all dead.
So in the first run, we hit Tori in 6 seconds. But in the second run, when he was firing back, it took 32, 5 times longer. However, he still got hit, which means maybe the hero is mythical, but in real life, there's no way to avoid it. You're gonna get hit.
How many times have you seen this in the movie? The hero gets shot, falls down, eyes closed, music swells. Just as you're ready to weep because he's dead, boop, he pops up because something in his pocket has deflected the bullet and saved his life.
From lighters to Bibles to packs of cards.
Exactly, and there are so many examples of this from movies that we have tested it multiple times on the show.
Well, why don't we ask the editors to pull all of these things into one giant assembly and settle out what's bulletproof or not once and for all?
Perfect. Editors?
This is 9mm into Frankenfish.
Over the years, the MythBusters have taken aim at the strange.
Oh! Killing the undead.
And the downright bizarre. But what's the score when it comes to stopping a slug?
Well, let's lock and load.
So start the tally, because here comes the list.
Oh, went all the way through. I can see you.
Oh, check out my new bulletproof vest, man!
Gonna try aiming for the battery?
Holy cramoly.
But the most disturbing discovery was about the supposedly bulletproof shields they used all through Series 1.
not even remotely bulletproof. You told us all was actually bulletproof, and it's not.
That plastic is a bulletproof plastic when it's used in appropriate thicknesses and arrangements.
Yep, like a 1-inch thickness.
Yeah, that definitely stopped it.
The MythBusters have also turned their own hand to bulletproofing, with mixed success.
This is just cornstarch and water. 2, 1.
That's FGR 95 with aluminum cubes. It did not make it through. I'm gonna try these tiles.
Let's get out to the shooting range.
Jamie tile 3, bullets and ammunition 2.
And finally, the truly grossest and most bizarre.
Oh, yeah.
The idea that if you were fat enough or strong enough, you could stop a bullet.
3, 2, 1.
Firing into muscles.
So, muscle didn't even do it.
Muscle nor fat. No part of your body's gonna make you bulletproof or superhuman. You're gonna have to give that plan up.
And there you have it, the definitive list. But we're not done yet.
Let's do it.
No MythBusters gun special would be complete without an entirely gratuitous, totally ballistic, spectacular shoot-'em-up montage. On this episode of MythBusters, a blast from the past. As Adam and Jamie hit the history books.
There will be a lot of fire, and I could get burned.
To explore an explosive myth from the Civil War. Wow! Did the Confederate Army build the world's first long-range missile?
In 3, 2, 1.
Who are the MythBusters? Adam Savage and Jamie Heineman.
This is gonna kill you.
Between them, more than 30 years special effects experience.
That's what I'm talking about.
They don't just tell the myths, they put them to the test.
This one, I've been waiting for 3 whole years to make this one finally happen on the show.
It's got danger, gunpowder, so I'm all for it.
All right, so the myth is that late in the Civil War, the Confederate Army actually built, aimed, and launched a 2-stage rocket from Richmond, Virginia to Washington, D.C., almost 100 miles. Observers claim to have watched this rocket roar skyward, drop its first stage, and disappear from sight. Oh, yes.
It's a myth of ballistic proportions. The American Civil War was mostly slugged out with rifles and cannons. But did the Confederates have a secret weapon? Could they really have built the world's first long-range missile? The MythBusters and the build team are going to join forces to find out.
So where should we start with this?
Well,
I think we can only begin with an examination of exactly what the state of the art of rocketry was, if any, at the time this myth is supposed to have happened, roughly 1865.
So what you're getting at is that we need to get a bunch of plans for these rockets, build them, and see how well they actually worked.
Shoot them off, see what they're capable of.
Okay.
First, before attempting to make the mythical 100-mile missile, the MythBusters are building short-range rockets that were used in the Civil War. When complete, they'll launch them to learn whether the long-range Confederate rocket is even plausible. But so far, this build isn't exactly a walk in the park.
Sixth. So, sixth larger, that's...
With plans dating back over a century, this one is proving to be a bit of a brain drain.
2.3...
Until finally, Jamie gets some inspiration.
I'm building a replica of what is known as the Hale rocket, and that type of rocket is generally acknowledged as the state-of-the-art in the Civil War era.
State-of-the-art because over its 2,000-yard range, it had a hint of accuracy, brought about by tail fins that caused it to spiral through the air. Armed with dusty plans from the Smithsonian, Jamie sets his sights high. But in case Hale falls flat, Adam's building another retro rocket. And his, like the myth, is a two-stager.
The Boxer rocket is actually a rescue rocket. It was made to fire from one boat to another or from the shore to a boat in need of rescue, carrying a line so that that boat could be pulled to safety.
The Boxer rocket's initial thrust came from the first stage. As that burnt out, it fell away, and the second stage fired up and carried the rope over 300 feet to the sinking ship. But for Adam, it's not all plain sailing, because no one seems to have built one for over 100 years.
I have no idea if this is going to work.
While the Boxer makes progress, the Hale is out for the count, because Jamie's made an error of schoolboy proportions. And to avoid public humiliation,
You know, if I don't talk, you don't get any good TV.
He's run away from the cameraman.
What happened?
Nothing.
Denial is a river in Africa.
Come on. What happened? Did you accidentally weld the thing at the end of your pipe that was supposed to be a screw fitting?
Overzealous welding has sealed his rocket shut, and he's not happy.
We had about like a couple of hours of playing around with the thing, and that's not interesting, but somehow when we screw up, everybody's all over it.
While a sulking Jamie has to start from scratch, Tori's busy building the Civil War rocket launcher.
It's a pretty simple design. It's just a channel that we're going to load the rockets into, and it's got two legs that support it in the front, and it also allows the angle to change. They're adjustable, so we can have different, angles of trajectory.
Time for a test, albeit with a flimsy firework.
I'm not really sure what this one's going to do. It might scream, it might explode, but okay. You know what, the rocket followed the channel perfectly, and it sent it in the right angle. I just hope it's sturdy enough for the big rockets.
I know, that's gonna be a lot of thrust.
I got some more rockets, so maybe we should light off a couple more.
Yeah, like a couple at once.
Yeah.
While Pyro Tori gets his kicks, Adam's made a find that changes the Boxer and maybe the mythical rocket too.
Upon doing some more research, it turns out that nobody's ever seen one of these rockets. No one's seen one in a long time. No one's got one. No one builds them. So there has been some confusion as to whether or not it was a true two-stage rocket or a compound rocket. And it turns out that it's a compound rocket. And indeed, it does not separate in the middle halfway through its ignition.
So the Boxer is not a true two-stage rocket. The sections don't split, they simply burn through each other. The idea that the mythical Confederate rocket was a two-stage must now be in doubt. As Adam puts the finishing touches to the boxer, Jamie's come out of his corner fighting and is already attaching those revolutionary tail fins that spun the Hale rocket for accuracy.
There was a price to pay to make these spin. Even with this clever design, it actually reduced the total range of the rocket.
Range doesn't mean crap if it can't be accurate.
Yeah.
I'll take accuracy over range any day.
And that's the same conclusion as Mr. Hale drew.
I'm fairly happy with this. It, you know, it's not a polished, shiny thing, but it looks like it means business.
At last, the rockets are ready. They just need the gunpowder fuel.
There we run into kind of a problem. I mean, first of all, it's illegal for you and I to pack black powder ourselves. But secondly, the pressures they packed these rockets under was really just monstrous, and that makes it even more dangerous.
Sounds like we need to get our old buddy Eric Gates.
Yeah, I think we should call Eric, and I think rather than go with black powder, we should ask Eric to supply us with some modern equivalent motors that replicate the amount of thrust and burn time of these Civil War era rockets.
Civil War rockets, but modern fuel. And for the imminent launch, the team head for the hills. The MythBusters have built rockets that date back to the Civil War. They're going to launch them in the desert to help them learn how to build the mythical Confederate rocket rumored to have a range of 120 miles.
We're here in the Mojave Desert at the Cohen Dry Lake Bed near Edwards Air Force Base, and we're about to test the authentically recreated Civil War era rockets.
Authentically recreated, but because of state laws, contemporarily fueled, thanks to the rocket expertise of their honorary MythBuster, Eric Gates.
When the countdown goes, these rocket motors are going to burn for 4.
Eric has already helped show that an ancient Chinese entrepreneur failed to get into orbit. And can you do a full 360 on a swing? Well, only if you've got someone like Eric there to help. Today, the cool of the van has become Civil War mission control.
I got something to show you guys. This right here is my Boxer rocket.
Adam's as proud as a new father. And like a new baby, the rocket first gets weighed.
All right, so 8.4 pounds for this thing.
And measured.
Diameter of the rocket is 3 inches.
This data is then fed into a computer simulation to see whether the rocket stands a chance of flying.
Okay, I've put a little set of fins on here to simulate the stick, and it looks like it's going to be stable. Let's try a motor.
Let's put a K550 in it to start out.
K550 it is.
The computer's fully primed.
Go.
Flight path, perfect. Range, 20,000 feet.
Remember, these are really rough simulations because your nozzle is not the same as what comes with the motor. So these could be greatly off, but hopefully they're going to be fairly accurate predictions.
Jamie's 20-pound rocket is historically more reliable than Adam's. So what does the accurate computer make of it?
See, right now it's doing about 500 feet and about 50 feet up, 60 feet up.
That's not quite the spinning that the Hale rocket was famed for. As launch looms, the rockets are ready to be fueled up with ammonium perchlorate motors. These modern motors are the most advanced in amateur rocketry and may be a little more powerful than Civil War black powder. But as they wrap them to ensure a snug fit in the rockets, Adam and Jamie are wondering if the main myth has historical authenticity, or is it just another tall tale?
Well, you know, now you can find references to the Civil War rocket all over the web, and they're saying that the rocket was about 12 feet long and it carried a 10-pound gunpowder warhead.
Well, the tale first showed up in 1958 in a Southern newspaper written by a Vienna correspondent signing only as C.R. Johnson.
Well, our researchers were unable to find C.R. Johnson or the article.
The myth may be nothing more than a mirage. But in this desert, It's T-minus 60 seconds for the Hale rocket.
We built this according to official plans and specs of the period, and if it worked then, it ought to work now.
What does our percentage maestro think?
70% chance the thing spins out, ends up about 200 feet away. 29% chance that it actually flies totally successfully and ends up 3,000 feet away. There's a 1% chance that it hits the ground and bounces right over to us.
And with those words of wisdom, it's the bit now with the countdown.
3, 2, 1, go.
She's up and away.
Congratulations, James.
Wow. Easily done, brother.
I was afraid that it was going to loop, but then it just got the spin. When the spin's what keeps it going straight. That was great.
Those revolutionary Hale tail fins did the trick and kept the rocket on a computer-defying perfect arc.
See it actually go and work, especially kind of having you on the edge of your seat as you're watching it go, and then it just kind of homes in and does its job. It was cool. It's cool design.
One down, one to go.
I got a boxer rocket, and I'm gonna fire it.
Complete with its rescue rope.
You're ready to rock and roll.
Is that it?
That's it.
Is that it?
That is it. Next, you push the button.
Light some rockets!
In 3, 2, 1.
Whoa! We have liftoff.
You guys all clear?
That is cool.
It looks like they knew what they were doing back there in the 1800s.
They might have known what they were doing.
Yeah, look good.
Ain't that the truth? Another near-perfect flight. The rescue rope didn't fare so well, but at least the drowning sailors would have had a spectacle to behold. Adam and Jamie's next task is to build the long-range rocket of the myth. So first, they'll need to find out how far their non-mythical missiles flew.
I don't know, but I think that's one of the rockets, and judging by the size of the hole, I think it's mine. I don't know. I'm gonna see if I can feel the end of it. Oh, I'm still not touching anything.
Oh, backhoe time.
Like a miner in the gold rush, Jamie starts digging. And the lighter boxer rocket? Well, 500 yards further on.
That's where it landed.
I'm just terrible at judging distance from here, but I'd say it's at least 1.5 miles. I'm gonna pace it out. Calculating each of my steps is about 1 yard, and we'll see where I get to.
As Adam measures his flight path, Jamie has at last struck gold.
There she is. We got the end clearly exposed, and I think we should be able to tug it out with it come along pretty well. So
the heavy Hale flew half as far and went over 5 feet into the ground. Soft to crash land in, tiring to measure.
1,317 yards. I'm tired.
The MythBusters have successfully launched rockets that haven't been seen for 80 years. But now, they've got to use what they learned to build the mythical 100-mile range Confederate rocket.
well, now we have a pretty good idea of what the standard kind of rocket that was used in the Civil War era is capable of. And I got to say, we've got our work cut out for us as far as this mythical rocket, because there's just not a whole lot of information about what it was.
Well, you know, we start with what we've got. I mean, they say it was a liquid-fueled rocket, so we should talk to somebody about what kind of technologies that would make a liquid-fueled rocket they had available at the time.
Liquid fuel? Well, that is what NASA uses. Of course, they had their teething problems too. But surely this technology is light years ahead of the Confederates. If only we had a rocket scientist.
Hello. How you doing, guys?
Nice to meet you.
So you're like a rocket scientist, right?
Yeah, exactly. I teach the rocket propulsion class at San Diego State, and I launch my own rockets.
Does being a rocket scientist help you pick up chicks?
Unfortunately, in the rocket science world, there's not that many women, and they're hunted to extinction.
Hunted to extinction. So, have you heard this myth that the Confederate Army actually built a liquid-fueled rocket that they fired from Virginia to Washington, D.C.?
It was the beginning of the Industrial Revolution. People were doing all kinds of crazy things with steam engines and steamboats. I suppose it's possible.
What's not possible is to understand the ensuing discussion. But eventually they thrashed out the characteristics of a plausible Civil War-era two-stage rocket, powered by ethanol and liquid oxygen. And they unearthed some interesting new data.
This myth was supposedly made possible by Lord Kelvin, who was persuaded to make liquid oxygen 12 years before it is generally accepted that this first occurred.
Apparently, German physicist Ernst Mach contributed a small turbine and a gyroscopic stabilizer.
The rocket was launched from a hole in a riverbank that was lined with a tube made from naval cannons.
So here are the likely ingredients. Lord Kelvin's liquid oxygen made the rocket fuel burn. Ernst Mach's gyros gave it stability. A cannon provided the trajectory. And gun cotton made it explode out of the barrel. But what was the fuel? It could have been ethanol, made since ancient times by fermenting sugar. And it is used as a fuel. In today's environmentally conscious age, clean-burning ethanol is widely used as an additive to reduce gasoline emissions. Clean and green was not the aim of the Nazis when they invented their ethanol-fueled V-2 rockets. It was an oil shortage that drove their search for an alcohol-based rocket fuel. Nonetheless, the V-2 suggests that moonshine could have been used in the Confederate rocket. Next, it's Lord Kelvin's Big O. Liquid oxygen is needed as the fuel oxidizer. Without it, the ethanol will burn only gently. But when it's added, the fuel is fully oxidized and virtually explodes, causing a massive amount of thrust. And it's down to Grant to make it.
Well, I'm going to replicate Joseph Priestley's landmark experiment of the late 1700s, where he actually discovered oxygen using mercuric oxide, liquid mercury, a magnifying glass, and the sun.
Before making liquid oxygen, he first has to produce oxygen gas by focusing the heat of the sun onto mercuric oxide.
Now for the sun.
As it heats up, oxygen gas should bubble up into the test tube.
Hey, it's bubbling. Tiny, but still bubbling.
It's working, but he's going to be here a while longer yet. And when he's got enough, like Lord Kelvin, Grant's got to liquefy it. Meanwhile, because the mythical rocket was fired from a naval cannon, Carrie's gone to the fort.
So Jamie and Adam need to know what size the cannons were during the Civil War. So I've come here to Fort Point to do some measuring of cannons and find out.
These measurements are key to the MythBusters missile because there's no written record of the dimensions of the Confederate rocket.
All right, that's 11-foot length.
Adam and Jamie do know that it was fired from a cannon. So if Carrie measures the biggest cannons from the Civil War,
10 inches?
Then the MythBusters can build the biggest rocket possible. And they'll also have a launch tube they can replicate.
9 foot 2 inches.
It's another ingredient ready. Launch tube cannon, check. But the MythBusters have made a worrying discovery about Lord Kelvin.
Well, Adam, as the myth suggests, William Thompson, aka Lord Kelvin, did in fact live during the Civil War era, but he never claimed to have made liquid oxygen.
And we're supposed to believe someone whose name was Thompson but went around saying he was Lord Kelvin? That's Lord Kelvin to you?
Yeah.
But in 1852, he did observe that gas expanding in a vacuum decreased in temperature.
And that discovery, in turn, made it possible in 1877 for two French scientists, Picquet and Calitet, I believe it was, to, in fact, achieve making liquid oxygen.
Yeah, but their success was only making the tiniest little vapor of liquid oxygen for just a few seconds. Industrial quantities were not remotely available until the 1890s and really until the 1900s.
Well, that explains why Grant's been struggling so. Using Civil War technology, he's been trying to put his oxygen gas under so much pressure that it turns into liquid.
That doesn't sound like 80 PSI.
But whatever he tries, just ain't working.
I got a problem with this here cylinder.
And that's because M5, like the Civil War times, is just too warm.
As it turns out, is actually a critical temperature above which you can't liquefy oxygen. It just simply won't happen. That temperature is minus 118.6 degrees Celsius. And unfortunately, in Civil War times, they didn't possess the technology to make anything nearly that cold.
And without the liquid oxygen, the Confederate rocket myth is looking busted. In the American Civil War, did the Confederate Army fire a long-range missile? The MythBusters are trying to find out. But Grant has just failed to make a vital rocket ingredient.
Well, you know, Grant's results make it pretty clear that they just did not have the ability to liquefy oxygen during the Civil War, which for us rules out the possibility of a liquid-fueled rocket that uses a liquid fuel and a liquid oxidizer. I don't really know where we go from here.
Well, I do. And, you know, I've been doing some reading on this. I think the design we should use is called a hybrid. The fuel is wax. The oxidizer that we would use would be nitrous oxide. The design doesn't involve any really complicated moving parts or anything.
Number one, all those materials sound really safe to work with. And number two, the technology for all of them was available during the Civil War. That sounds like a perfect solution.
So it's Plan B, a hybrid Confederate rocket. Lord Kelvin's liquid oxygen replaced with liquid nitrous oxide, and the ethanol fuel by solid paraffin wax. It's the last chance for this myth. And it all depends on whether making liquid nitrous oxide using Civil War technology is even possible. So Grant gets another bite at the cherry, but this time, in an extreme case of please don't try this at home, the recipe has been censored.
The plan here is to heat up with that will actually produce a gas. We're going to run those through and at the other end should come out nitrous oxide.
So Grant adds some moo with some meow and starts heating. With the temperature creeping higher, the gas starts to bubble out. And Adam can't resist having a sniff.
We're almost.
That burns!
As Adam recovers, more gas bubbles through. But is it nitrous oxide? Or, to use its common name, laughing gas?
Nitrous oxide is more plausible as an oxidizer. Nitrous oxide is more... Okay. Nitrous oxide is more...
They've clearly made laughing gas. But what is he trying to say?
Nitrous oxide is more plausible as an oxidizer during the Civil War than oxygen because the pressure that you need is a lot less. You're looking at 50 atmospheres for nitrous oxide versus 400 for oxygen.
So nitrous oxide needs less pressure to be liquefied, and better still, it can be done at room temperature. A time-saving, shop-bought bottle later, and the Confederate hybrid rocket can really happen. But with one final alteration. Adam's boxer rocket, like that of the myth, was described as a two-stager. But further research proved otherwise.
And it turns out that it's a compound rocket, and indeed, it does not separate in the middle halfway through its ignition.
Given that the launch was so successful, they're going to make their mythical rocket a one-stager as well. The final design is set. The rocket will be the size of the biggest cannon carry found at the fort. At the top, there'll be a tank full of liquid nitrous oxide joined via a release valve to a tank filled with paraffin wax. Upon ignition, the burning gases will burst out through a graphite nozzle. So, first things first, Jamie goes 21st century shopping for some 19th century parts. He's looking for some metal piping that Civil War rocketeers might have found at their local suppliers. They're going to make their best effort and then test it in the shop before trying to make it fly in the desert.
I'm making the nitrous oxide tank for the rocket. We're using common steel plumbing pipe and fittings because that's easy and quick for us, and it's not too dissimilar from what they might have had at the time.
Meanwhile, Adam's cooking up the new fuel, the paraffin wax with carbon added for an even burn. After it solidifies, it should fit perfectly inside the rocket.
No leaking.
As the testing draws nearer, for safety, the team need a rocket-resistant bunker, also known as a shipping container.
Okay, we're in.
Perfect.
Perfect parking, but how bomb-proof is the bunker?
There we go. Woo! Uh-oh.
Not very.
A lot of daylight coming through the roof.
They've bought a holy rust bucket.
Who cut the budget on the bunker? Like, this seems like something you'd spend the extra cash on.
Yeah, when you got lives at stake.
Is that a wasp nest?
Yeah.
Sweet.
To top it off, there's wasps. But not for long.
Oh, shoot, that was cool.
Set a bomb off in there, the whole roof might go up. So I gotta redo the roof. I still gotta get the ventilation in. I gotta get the cinder blocks in. I gotta sweep this thing out. I mean, thing's a mess. But hey, we're gonna have a bunker.
As Tori slowly makes it blast-proof, the MythBusters have dug up some more mythical musings.
What factoids do you have for us today, Jamie?
The myth specifically states that the launch took place near Richmond in March of 1865 and was witnessed by Jefferson Davis, who was the president of the Confederate States of America.
Now, there is an element of truth to this story. Jefferson Davis was, in fact, in Richmond around March of 1865.
Well, the problem is that there is actually a very good record of every day of Jefferson Davis's activity during the month of March, and there is no mention whatever of any kind of a two-stage rocket.
But maybe it was a secret launch.
Well, there's always that.
It's no secret that Tori's bunker is becoming ever more beefed up. And as launch nears, Adam's rocket fuel is all set.
All right, well, the wax is cured overnight. Let's see what it did. Oh, yeah!
It's worked perfectly.
Yeah, I'm proud.
And will it fit? Of course. But there's no rest for the wicked. Jamie gets on with sealing the rocket, but is slightly alarmed at how simple it all seems to be.
It doesn't make any sense that it should be this easy. This is some laughing gas and some plumbing fixtures. And if it actually goes someplace, that's kind of scary.
The MythBusters are not used to things being so painless. But let's not forget, it's not even past its test yet.
Well, there she is. Tank's sealed. We have the ignition valve in place. We have the combustion chamber.
They're just waiting for the graphite nozzle. Graphite was the only thing available during the Civil War that could handle the crazy heat that the rocket's combustion generates.
Oh. That's a rocket. Oh, I'm totally psyched about that.
She's fully primed. With countdown just around the corner, it's time to take her to the bunker. The MythBusters are preparing to batten down the hatches in preparation for a big boom test. They've built their own Confederate rocket out of Civil War era technologies. And because the desert is a long way to drive to find out the motor doesn't work, they're about to try it in a bunker in their shop. For safety, Adam secures the rocket so it will burn but not launch. And Jamie sets up some ventilation in case it's more of a smoke bomb. With everything ready, they're on to the final checks, starting with the quick release, the valve that will open the nitrous oxide to the fuel.
Okay, go ahead and pull. Cool.
Check. Next test is the ignition.
All right, Jamie, I'm ready when you are.
Okay, and 3, 2, 1.
Smoking smells like, there we go.
Check.
Yeah, that took a second.
It's time to vacate the bunker because the Confederate rocket is going to get fired. They're going to fill the top half of the rocket with liquid nitrous oxide, ignite the wax, and then open the quick release valve.
There you go. That's what I'm talking about.
The nitrous oxide tank should be filling up, but no one is quite sure whether it's working.
I saw something drip.
It's dripping out of the quick release.
Oh, okay.
So that's actually a good sign.
Okay, well, let's kind of stand away from there, guys.
We're getting liquid nitrous oxide. Woo!
But 15 minutes later, and the tank is still filling up.
Yeah, this is where the danger zone happens. When nothing happens for a while, everyone's like, well, let's get closer. Let's get closer. Let's get closer. Boom! And everyone's dead.
Do you want to just go for it?
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay.
They're just going to go for it. But for safety reasons, Jamie must first disconnect the nitrous oxide filler tank.
Are you okay?
Yeah, I knew I was going to do that.
Next time you should say that there might be a large kaboosh. Because, like, my heart's beating like 500 times a minute right now.
Those with a weak heart or a nervous disposition should look away now because it's test time.
Okay, I'm in place, Adam.
Fire in the hole. So 3, 2, fans, go.
We clearly have ignition, but what the hell's going on in there? Not so much fire in the hole as fire in the whole shop. The MythBusters fire team have their work cut out. And what on earth must the neighbors think? There's more smoke than a year's worth of cigars. With the fire under control, the team decide to evacuate in case the gas is toxic.
Hey, that worked! I called 3, 2, fans, go. I pushed the igniter, Jamie pulled the fuel release, and I heard the thing catch. I heard it go, choo, go, boo, woo. I mean, just like exactly the way all the footage we've seen of liquid-fueled rockets going should sound. It put out a diabolical fireball outside the thing. It looks like it melted the ballistic glass. I mean, I can't wait to actually see the kind of damage it did in there.
As the smoke begins to clear, the damage is getting easier to see. Their hybrid rocket has turned M5 into a scene of apocalyptic proportions.
It's a testament to the size of the fireball and the heat that came out, what happened to my hovercraft.
If it did that to the hovercraft, what was going on inside the bunker? Well, the heat was so great that the cameras only filmed a giant fireball. Until, that is, they melted.
You know, I don't mind saying that I'm suffering the sin of pride here just a little bit. I mean, no one can dispute that through our ingenuity, we have achieved a hybrid rocket in 2 days with just a bunch of plumbing parts.
You mean we've achieved a hybrid rocket engine and system. We still have yet to put it in a sleek rocket-like exterior and build the cannon to fire it out of.
Exactly, and there's also the problem of tackling this mythical gyroscopic stabilizing system that the myth states. So I'll tackle the gyroscopic stabilizer. You want to take on the body and the nose cone?
Okay.
After some celebratory ego massaging, the down-to-earth work continues. For the final refinements, Adam's making the stabilizing system that gives the rocket a smooth and accurate flight path. But steam-powered, this ain't.
We looked at a lot of different ways to add gyroscopic stabilization to this thing, and we settled on the design that Hale used when he designed the Hale rocket, which was fins that affected the exhaust of the rocket only, but that exhaust being made to be rotational added a rotational stability to the rocket itself. So we've tried to do the same thing with ours on a much larger scale.
Ernst Mach and his gyro join Lord Kelvin and his liquid oxygen in the busted bin. Meanwhile, Jamie is making a more efficient string-pulled release valve to let the liquid nitrous oxide into the fuel tank. For the test, he was standing right next to the bunker. For the launch, he wants to be a bit further away.
It's important that I not be very close to the rocket when the nitrous oxide is dumped into the combustion chamber when it's lit, because there will be a lot of fire and I could get burned.
With the quick release ready and working, Jamie's routed round the shop and come up with the naval cannon launching tube.
Okay.
It's this pipe that the rocket will be propelled out of, courtesy of the Myth's Civil War gun cotton.
Carrie Elizabeth Byron?
Yes.
Your mission, should you choose to accept it, is to make us some gun cotton.
Great. What is it?
Well,
don't
it's
know.
some kind of cotton.
Yeah.
And it's probably got some nasty chemical added to it.
It's definitely going to shorten your lifespan, but we need a bunch of it. We need to figure out how to make it and get some over to us, okay?
Sounds like fun.
Oh, by the way, it's quite possibly explosive when you're done making it, so, be careful. Keep that in mind.
You guys always give me the best jobs.
Gun cotton is what apparently gave the rocket its initial thrust. It's an important but dangerous part of this myth. So the recipe is a MythBusters secret.
Okay, we're adding a half ounce of to a half ounce of slowly.
When you add donkey to rooster, you get a violent reaction.
And all that wonderful smoke cannot be good.
So it's in with the cotton wool.
I don't know how much I trust respirators and masks at this point. That stuff looks just disgustingly fatal.
The rest of the fatal process is classified. But after a complicated afternoon, Carrie's gun cotton is all set for a test.
All right. 3, 2, 1. Woo! Not bad.
That makes a big difference.
The secret recipe works. The gun cotton is remarkably energetic. But could it propel a rocket out of a cannon?
All right, let's try it with the cannon.
Cool.
This is the crucial part. If the gun cotton is powerful, then they can scale this up to give the hybrid rocket its initial thrust.
You ready? Okay. Fire in the hole in 3, 2, 1.
Success. And with more of it, it could just be enough to kickstart the rocket out of its naval cannon launch tube. The fifth and final mythical ingredient is ready. The gun cotton check. That just leaves the last details. First, the nose cone.
I don't have a big enough piece of wood for the nose cone, so I'm going to lay that out of foam. I mean, we're not putting an actual warhead on this thing.
Even the MythBusters have to draw the line somewhere. A foam nose cone will have to do. And second, a paint job. Looking pretty in pink, the MythBusters rocket is finally ready. This puppy is going to get fired.
Oh, it's gotten heavier.
Yeah, I know.
The MythBusters' homemade Confederate rocket is about to shoot for the moon. Time to return to the desert. Where things have started badly.
And we're stuck. But it's only the biggest vehicle in the fleet that's stuck. So we're using every other vehicle to get it out.
Jamie drove them into this mess, so he's got to dig them out.
What else do we have to stick under there? Anything?
But they're not having much luck. And believe me, this is not a fun place to break down.
We were hoping to work for the morning and then go back to the hotel, have a hacienda, work later in the day so we didn't take the heat of the sun. But no! Go ahead and pull. Pull, come on, pull!
At 110 degrees, reinforcements are called. And with some tow truck talent, she's out. Freed at last, Jamie swings the truck around and gets stuck again.
Is there anything I could say that would make this more poignant? I don't think so.
Like rats in a sinking ship, the team abandon their lamentable lorry and take all their rocket equipment with them. After finally arriving on site, the race is on to get the rocket ready and fired. And to start, Adam finishes off the cannon-inspired gun barrel. To get the launch trajectory, Adam's attaching an A-frame to it. Meanwhile, Jamie's back to pulling strings.
I've run the pull cord, which opens the nitrous valve the entire distance because I want to feel what it feels like and have somebody watching on the other end to make sure that it actually worked.
We're ready for the test whenever you are.
Yo!
Hey!
That was it, right on the ball.
Hey, that worked!
With the quick-release valve working from 500 feet, the team slide the rocket into the cannon.
Favor the far side.
Add the wax fuel, and then seal her up.
Perfect. Lovely. Fabulous. You're the man. Stud. What?
And next up for these studs is the erection.
There you go, Eric. Watch your fingers.
She's nearly ready.
You like it? Yeah.
Jamie adds Carrie's gun cotton propellant to the base of the cannon. And that just leaves the fuel oxidizer, the liquid nitrous oxide. As the team make the final preparations, it seems this hybrid rocket has come a long way from the original myth. So is any part of this parable actually true?
They did have gun cotton in 1865, and they did have steel. They did have nitrous oxide.
Firing a rocket from a tube, totally plausible. Completely within the realm of possibility.
Building the rocket is one thing. All of the processes that go into actually launching it make it, in my opinion, improbable, but not impossible for them to have done in that era.
The Civil War rocket. Improbable, but not impossible. Sure, the MythBusters have made a few changes, but does it really stand a chance of flying the mythical 120 miles?
All right, here's the percentages. 60% chance that we get a lot of flame and a lot of fuss and bother, and the rocket doesn't leave the tube. 5% chance that it blows up in the tube from too much pressure or something like that. What have I got left, 35? Yeah, I'll give 20% chance of a successful launch and 15% chance of something I cannot even remotely predict.
Well, let's find out. Adam's going to press the button, then Jamie will yank open the quick-release valve.
All right. Here goes the big boom Civil War rocket. In 3, 2, 1, ignition. Something's happening. Here it goes.
Woo! I know, me too.
Yeah! I forgot to take a picture. Sir?
Good job, Jimmy. Good job, everybody.
Wow.
Got out of the barrel. Right in the air. Our first hybrid rocket.
And didn't she do well? It took a while for the nitrous oxide to mix with the fuel, but then she was off.
Nice work. Should we go find our rocket?
Yeah.
All right. Is it that thing right that way?
Yeah, right there.
Okay, so I'll pace it off while we walk out.
That was a rocket. There's no two ways about it. For being made out of some plumbing pipe and pipe caps, it's not half bad. That was heavy.
It weighed over 200 pounds. But how far did it go?
I got it! Here it is! There you go.
1, 2, 3. Made it about 500 yards in 2 days. 2 days, baby. Let anybody else do that and get something airborne like this out of plumbing parts and a visit to your local hardware store.
A little hubris from the Heinemann.
And rightly so. After all, they just built a rocket out of plumbing parts in 48 hours. Want to see it again? The 200-pound Civil War rocket came straight out of the barrel, but had nowhere near the thrust of modern rockets. A success, but still 119 miles shorter than the myth.
So there you have it, Confederate rocket. Is it busted, plausible, or confirmed?
Totally busted. You know, we got airborne with stuff that they could have had, they could have put together, but nowhere near 120 miles.
I agree. They had access to all this technology, but putting it all together didn't happen for another, maybe even 100 years. We made a good effort, and I'm so glad we got a launch, but this one's busted.
Busted.